West Tigers Faithful, episode number 38. Joe McCord is with me after he has returned back to his native Brisbane after a sojourn to Sydney. Mac, it was great to see you in the flesh, but how are you doing since making your return home?
Been very busy with work and stuff, but would have been nicer to return home after a victory. But alas, West Tigers.
West Tigers indeed. We'll wrap the game entirely in a little bit, but first we've got some news to get through. Not about us, but mostly the club. But before we do that, the mandatory plug: please subscribe. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Podcasts, YouTube Music. Hit the bell, leave a rating, do all those things. Social media: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. What else are we on? X. That's where I do my best work. So if you don't mind, do us a favor, follow us on all those things, interact with us, speak with us on the forum, subthreads, all of those things. We love interaction. You guys are the reason we do it. And to anybody who is listening that does tune in via Apple and the like, I want to apologize for the fact that it wasn't uploaded last week. What happened was that we left the stream running 7 hours, and it crashed so badly that ultimately the memory of my computer could not simply comprehend the sheer size of this video file, and ultimately I could not get in to edit it, submit it as an audio file, and out to you great people. So I apologise. That said, I can probably try and get back in the archives and push that out, similar to what I did with the Parramatta Easter Monday one. But nonetheless, let's move on. Some news. First and foremost, Talon De Silva has been placed on the market, or been given permission to negotiate effective immediately, which I found interesting. It all stemmed from the fact that Newcastle, interestingly, despite the fact that they have Jaden Brayley, Matt Arthur, and Phoenix Crossland, made approaches to Talon and his management, obviously Mario Tartak and Crown Sports, about Talon potentially joining the club for the rest of the year on loan. The Tigers were willing to give it credence, the idea, providing that Kai Pearce-Paul was willing, was going to come back the other way. Now we find out that the Tigers have given Talon permission to negotiate and for 2027. There's 4 clubs in the mix, and there is no guarantee that he is here within a week, given that the June 30 deadline is fast approaching. I have my opinions about this. I'm not particularly happy about it, but Mac, I'll throw to you.
Uh, I don't know, man. Like, it's all. It's disappointing to see Talon. Well, to what seems like see Talon leaving, considering he's like the other best player from the much vaunted Harry Matts team that won the comp. I guess it's just the nature of the NRL, but at the same time, it's like it should be players like this should be leaving better clubs and staying at the bad ones. like, isn't that how the system's supposed to work? Like
Yeah, well, I mean,
we're still the 3-time defending Spooners on a 5-loss streak, like, and we're having to let go of, you know, our best young talent because there's no place for them on the roster. Like, what roster? You know what I mean? Like, is this roster really competing well enough for us to be? I understand the Appy thing. Over the last couple of weeks, as we've kind of been discussing this emerging issue, my perspective on it's slightly changed, because I kind of did a little bit of maths, and well, the reality is that, like, if we choose, and it appears we have chosen Appy and chosen not to accept Talon's essentially his ultimatum, we're probably going to get Appy for 1 year, additionally, you know, to what we already had him. And in form, on form, I'm not sure. I think that the gap between the two is shortening rapidly. So it's a very difficult position that the club found themselves in, and I feel like it's one where we probably made the easy choice, not the hard one, and I think it's going to backfire. I honestly do. I think we will, in the very not too distant future, be looking back at this as a very, very big mistake that the club made.
I stand by the fact that we have to show favour to Uppy. He is a more known commodity. He is the captain of this club, and quite frankly, the loyalty that he has showed and the consistency in his game, to me, um, means that you have to reward him as such. But to see Talon being like his future being expedited is a bit of a concern for me personally. For that timeline to be moved forward is a real worry. And we can talk about potential swap deals and using this as leverage in the player market. Like I've seen nothing, unfortunately, these past few years to indicate that anything like that will happen. Jared Haywood obviously is a wonderful prospect who had another great game in Jersey Flag, and I think it's time for him to move up to New South Wales Cup. But nonetheless, if we go into next year without an able deputy in Talon De Silva, I'll be pretty disappointed. I would really have liked to have seen us go about it in a certain way of Talon, you stay here as the understudy in 2026. In 2027, you sign for 3 years. In 27, you go out on loan, whether it be to England or to another NRL club. There's obviously interest for him at Newcastle. I'm sure another club that wants to win now would loan him. And then in 2028, you come here and you be the dominant hooker and you play the bulk of the minutes. And then in 2029, Uppy is retired and the spot is yours. I just find it quite disappointing when you look at the likes of Far, Longmore, and Pezzett at Melbourne. And I know that we're not Melbourne, but nonetheless, it's really disappointing again to see another young kid that we've developed, looked after, and ultimately, given them a decent path to first grade and developed, looking to weigh up their options. And I understand that it's Talon's right, but to see that entire process sped up is a bit disappointing.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Like in describing the way it would have been good to see it play out. Whose fault is it that it didn't play out that way, if not the West Tigers administration's?
I think everyone's got a case to answer for here, right?
I mean, ultimately it's a business decision, and like what you're describing is what would have been in the best interests of the club. It's up to the club to prosecute its business decisions and be persuasive, and it obviously failed to make a business case, much like it failed to make a business case to Lachlan Galvin. So, that's how I see it. Talon De Silva decided that his business interests best lie elsewhere, and so did Mario Tartak, and so did Lachlan Galvin, and so did Isaac Moses. And at a certain point, until we as a club are able to make a better business case, that's going to continue to happen, I'm afraid. The truth is that Talon De Silva in his current form is probably a better hooker than some hookers starting in the NRL, even if he's not that great yet. Because truly elite hookers are not exactly common on the market. Like there are some clubs that are running around with journeymen playing 9. Other sort of Jake Simpkins started many games at 9. Is he better than Talon De Silva?
No.
Question that. So Talon De Silva isn't exactly overvaluing himself by valuing himself as a potential starting player at other clubs. He frankly is, and that's already the case. And by this time next year, he'll probably be a pretty good starting hooker at other NRL clubs. So I don't think that Talon De Silva's done anything wrong here, aside from it probably interesting to look back on some of the remarks Appy said about Talon in the preseason now, in retrospect. So I remember Appy literally in the media saying, Talon's already better than me. So if that's Appy's perspective, then what the hell are we doing?
Yeah, it's most certainly a worry. look, again, I understand that we have to show loyalty to Uppy, and I want him to retire at this club. But I guess without going down a massive wormhole, what does this have to say about? And Talon's within his right to test the market. He's well within his rights to go and find what's out there and to see who's willing to give him starting nine. But is there anything to say about loyalty or self entitlement of these juniors at this club right now?
Again, I I think maybe sometimes, but like you can't. If it continues to happen, and the common denominator is the club, right? You know, the individuals. The common denominator is the club. The club's not managing to build a culture or you know, a brand, a business that these kids seem to want to take on to play and stay at. And that comes down to the front office and the coaching staff not creating an environment where they feel like it's in their best interests to stay. Lachlan Galvin left for $400,000 a year less. I mean, he's got TPAs, but he would have had TPAs here. So Talon De Silva, you know, his decision was a little bit more financially motivated. I think he's probably going to get more money elsewhere, but not substantially so. So again, I mean, you know me, like, you know, I don't say things without thinking them through. Like, I can't blame the players. I have to say the club is to blame here. Like, whatever Benji Marshall is doing in that playing group is working for some, but not everyone. It's working for some players, but not others. And as a fan who isn't a fly on the wall, it's very easy to side with the club in certain situations, like with the John Bateman situation, David Clemmer, Lachlan Galvin. But now we're seeing a player who you said not very many weeks ago, oh, he'll definitely stay here. He bleeds black and white. Like, you.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you can probably pull out the receipt.
We're saying, and you weren't wrong, right? Like, he is. He is a diehard. Campbelltown Junior, like, he's a diehard. And he's gone too. So, yeah, what's happening? What's happening in this playing group? Like, it's only so many times you can see certain situations like this unfold before you start to go, well, you know, how are the players treating other players? Are the coaches being dismissive of certain players and favouring others? Is there something to this? Like, because it seems like the pattern is starting to form.
There's certainly questions to be asked. I would like to think that this is simply just Talon looking for opportunity. But you look at, obviously, he is friends with Lachlan Galvin. We all saw a lot of the post-win images in the dressing shed when Galvin's future was up in the air and we'd played Redcliffe, and it was one of I think it was Billy Callaway at the time, who's also since left the club, and Lachlan Galvin and Talon all sat there while the rest of the team were out, still on the park. Maybe that is part of it. I really don't know, but there is something to think about, and I get where you're coming from. I really do wonder, but at the same time, we also have quotes on the record from people like Shane Richardson and Mario Tartak simply saying, Talon just wants to play first grade. And
it's not just Talon and not just Lachlan. It's just that those are the two that are the highest profile because they're already in the NRL. It's Onatoni Large, it's Ashton Large, it's Zachary Clark, it's Cooper Clark, it's Tim Johansson. Like, there's many examples emerging. And Cooper Clark and Zachary Clark are going to play NRL soon. Onatoni Large and Ashton Large were, Ashton Large was the best.
If I can jump in and say that Anthony and Ashton wanted to stay, but they wanted that clause written into their contract should Galvin leave. Now, obviously, in hindsight, you can say that was a terrible decision, and we should have just signed it and then said, look, you've got a gentleman's agreement to look elsewhere if Galvin resigns. Now, I won't make excuses there, but those boys wanted to stay. But yeah, the Clark brothers, absolutely.
It's just another example of the club, like I'm starting to feel like Shane Richardson talks a big game, but when it comes to walking it, maybe he's not who he used to be because there's some mistakes being made. That's
Well, I can't disagree with you at the moment. There are definite concerns around our juniors, and he had an article at the end of last year saying that he wants to build the side around Hiamasi Makasini, Lachlan Galvin, and Talon De Silva. 2 out of 3 of those are going to leave the club. So,
and thankfully we've got Hiamasi for a while yet.
And Latu Fainu and possibly Jared Haywood. But look, if Talon is to leave, I would be looking at one Sevilla Havili. I know you're a big fan of him as well. I think he's the ideal, probably 14 or jersey 17. I don't think that we can go in an extra. I like Tristan Hope, and I think a top 30 deal, wouldn't be a bad idea, as hooker cover. But I would definitely be in the marketplace looking for a guy that can play a bit of 9, a bit of 13, and do a job off the bench. Similar to what Tavanga's done, for Manly. I think that's extremely important. So, look, again, I don't want to lose Talon. I'm just talking about potential contingencies should it happen. We're just going to have to wait and see.
You think that there's a chance that he stays?
I don't know, mate. I mean, nothing's ever for certain, but with the way that it's going at the moment, I am beginning to grow concerned that he's got one foot out the door. I think these next few days are going to be really critical to find out. Look, he is locked up for the next, sort of 18 months. Not that a contract in the NRL, let alone the West Tigers, means anything, but there is an opportunity here, like at a couple of different clubs. Like, if the Cowboys are going in hard for him, I'd bring Sam McIntyre home and play him at 13. Manly Sea Eagles have got a kid by the name of Caleb Navale playing lock forward. Got a Fijian connection, knows a lot of the boys here. He's managed by Benji Marshall's company that the Matt Desira owns. That's an opportunity for leverage and a swap. I've also heard that there's some unhappy players at Manly due to the coach and the setup there. I wonder why, but nonetheless, there's opportunities there. Parramatta, if you want to lock forward, Saxon Pryke, Jermaine Hopgood, there's opportunities there too. And then obviously with Newcastle, if we went that way, then you speak to KPP, or you put him on the shelf and you look elsewhere. So
I saw an article just before that said Newcastle pulled out of the running of taking him mid-year.
Well, actually, I really want to fucking tee off on them, because I cannot fathom why that club basically said we would like to loan Talon for the rest of the season. We'd love to have him. And we say, okay, all right, sure, you can talk about loaning, but we want Kai back. And then they put a 4-year deal under Talon's nose when we hadn't given him permission to speak until 2027. We then grant Talon permission and say, all right, fine, go and explore your options. And then Newcastle say, oh, yeah, no, sorry. No, we will not release Kai. That's just not going to happen. Like, what the fuck is going on up there, just quietly? Like, the way that they handled the Dom Young negotiations initially when they started them was the exact same, and it was fucking pathetic. Peter Parr, or whoever it was at the Knights, called the Roosters and said, hey, Dom's playing cup, can we have him? And they said, you can speak to him, sure. And then they fired back down the line, all right, you're going to pay half his contract. Like, what are they doing? It's just it's really fucking disappointing. But again, look, there is swap leverage there. And if we get Kai a few months early, that'd be amazing for us. Everybody saw how Alex Seafarth played on the weekend. That'd be great.
If we had Kai Pierce-Paul on Friday night, we probably would have won.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong there.
That being said, Alex was critically involved in both the tries, ironically enough, even though he played abysmally. The 2 times he showed up, he scored a try and he threw a critical pass. So
yeah, it was hilarious.
That is hilarious.
Anyway, we'll review that properly in a sec. Two things to really quickly note. Adam Dewey signed with Isaac Moses. To me, that tells me that he's basically been told by the Tigers, your contract won't be renewed, and he's got to find a club. What better bloke to find your club than a bloke that's got his tentacles in probably 3 or 4 organisations that he can get him a contract at? I'd say there's a fair chance that he lines up next to Isaac's cousin at Parramatta next year, or or ends up at a Manly or a Newcastle as a backup half. Are you sort of a similar mindset that Adam's probably been told to look elsewhere and he needs somebody to earn their commission?
Yeah, probably. I'd say it probably bodes well for the training exploits of Marcassini, if that's the case, because there's got to be they've got to have confidence that they have a contingency plan. I suppose they've got Taylor May now that they're probably pretty confident. He might have showed some good signs. Look, it's fair between him, Marcy, Luke Lololei, Taylor May. They've got options. Tino Tavana. They've got some good. The flag outside backs are carving up. So the Tatua brothers. So there's definitely there's a conveyor belt of options, to be honest.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him leave. And given the weirdly public pursuit of one Jonah Glover, it speaks to the fact that I think we're looking elsewhere for both starting centre, our centre depth, and in the halves, therefore meaning that Adam will be pushed out. Last one, mainly in the news wash up, is that Richardson spoke to Buzz and went on the record and said he's got no issues with Banj. He'll be here until at least the end of next year, irrespective of where we finish. Yeah, just said I like his style. Like his
going to say.
Yeah, you're exactly right. He can't. Yeah. Look, I've never known. Actually, Richo does lie to journalists. Has he got contingencies lined up? I mean, there's always been talk of Burgess. There's always been talk of Willie Peters. I don't.
Hear Sam Burgess makes me like my initial reaction to that is like, but I don't know, man. There's something about Sam Burgess as a coach that players resonate with. Like he seems to be very successful at it, even though he's only been doing it for a very short period of time. I think he's only really in his third year of professional coaching, and the first year he coached the Aurora Valley Axemen in bloody Group 3.
Yeah, backed by one Russell Crowe. Yeah,
and they won the comp.
Yeah,
and then the Aurora Valley Axemen are now defunct. As soon as Sam Burgess left, they couldn't even get players to play for the team. So there's something about him for sure.
Yeah, anyway, we'll wait and see, but nonetheless, that's a watch this space. I can't see the club holding on to Benji.
I gotta put my volume up, says somebody.
If Benji gets a fourth straight spoon for this club, I can't see them. He obviously, the playing group holds him in high regard, but I don't think Richo's going to wait around for long. He's desperate to win another ring before he retires. But
I don't disagree. I think that the reality is that Shane Richardson will not be sitting there right now and saying, yeah, he's here till the end of 2026. Any kind of board worth their salt would hear that, and if they heard that, they'd be like, please explain, sir.
Well, funnily enough, I was told it was probably about December last year that they weren't doing any recruiting post November 1 because they had basically said to Marshall, we don't know whether or not you're going to be the coach. Now, whether or not they made a decision in the first 8 weeks, and yeah, we were playing pretty well, about that. And obviously, Kai Pearce-Paul wants to play under Benji, and he's our first external recruitment for next year. But nonetheless, it's going to be a bloody bitter pill to swallow for a lot of people if we finish, bottom 4, let alone wooden spoon, and it's the same bloke, in the hot seat next year.
Mate, the crowds will plummet. Like the bottom line would be affected. If they can't make decisions in the best interests of the performance of the team, they'd have to make best interests in the performance of their bottom line, surely. Like, there was only 9,300 people showed up at Campbelltown on Friday. Imagine if we get another wooden spoon and how many show up next year. Not that we're probably going to play any games at Campbelltown next year.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I was about to say it myself, but nonetheless, we'll talk about it. Not necessarily Campbelltown, but the game itself. We went down 16-12 to the Raiders. Here are some metrics in which we were better. Possession, all run meters, post-contact meters. We were even on line breaks. We had more tackle breaks. Our set distances were longer. We had more kick return meters. Our play-the-ball speed was faster. We had more offloads, more receipts, more total passes. We had 71 dummy passes to the Raiders' 8.
71 dummies to 8?
Yep. Same amount of kicks. Canberra kicked for more, but obviously with a longer set distance, you don't have to kick as long, although Fogarty is a great kicker of the ball. We forced more dropouts. Our tackle efficiency percentage was better by a factor of 5%. We made more errors. We conceded more penalties. I think that probably begins to tell you the story.
I'm a little bit perplexed by that dummy stat.
Yeah, a lot of second phase, I think, and
71 dummies to 8. Maybe they should start passing the ball. They're missing a trick.
Latu Fainu does. Is that what's doing that?
Heath Mason dummies and runs a lot too, doesn't he?
Maybe that's part of it. Anywho,
And Jahream Bula.
Yeah, that's right. Look, forget the stat. That stat. If you were to look at the majority of those stats and the key metrics, you sit here perplexed. But you watch the game and you begin to get a bit of an idea. It is as simple as the first 30 minutes, we were not at the races. The Raiders had done their homework. They went after our right edge defensively. They came up trumps. That was where they scored points and scored points quickly. There were some crazy breaks, some crazy sequences of play, and we did not get our shit together in attack until midway through the second half. It's a really, really frustrating one because I know a lot of people sit there and are tearing their hair out about Latu being on the bench and Talon not getting a minute and everything like that. I think we are trending in the right direction. It's just really, really disappointing and frustrating to sit here after 5 straight losses, 2 buys built into that, and sit here and go, we're building to something. I know that everybody is sick of hearing it. And we desperately need a win. This is not easy sitting here every single week and doing this. But where there's life, there's hope, and there was plenty of life, particularly around our halves combination.
Yeah, it's not easy, and I want to ask the audience today to say thank you in the comments to Jared, because he stays positive through so much turmoil. I think the public service that Jared and to a lesser extent myself offer needs to be something. Anyway, that commended. I think that the NRL's a funny game sometimes. That was a 2 halves game, and if Samuel Afainu's try wasn't a full pass, we win. So, if Samuel Afainu's pass was try wasn't called back for a forward pass, are we still upset?
Yeah, you're right.
One forward pass.
I can't believe that Adam G did not go to the upstairs referee with the Bula short. Apparently, I was disappointed that we didn't get a look at that at slow motion because I think he would have went closer than what the match official thought.
It was on the line. The question was whether or not it was double movement. I think that Jahream Bula, my personal view of it is Jahream Bula knew he grounded it and got up and played the ball too fast because he knew it was a double movement. That's what I think. Because Jahream Bula Jahream Bula wouldn't have gone that close to scoring and not claimed the try unless he knew he'd given a double movement. I think the first half was it's definitely a pattern, isn't it, this team? In the first halves of games many times this season, they've felt off the pace. It takes them a while to click. They fall behind, and something about the chemistry of the game when they're behind suddenly makes everything click.
Yes.
Except for when they're deep in the red zone, which is the same sort of thing that was happening to us last year. And I think that now that I've had another chance to see it in person, I think I understand what the problem is, and it's having no threats in the pack close to the line. Because they know that the only way that we're going to score close to the line is by spreading it right. It makes it very hard to pressure the defense. Every now and then, Api Coruscant throws a face ball and somehow manages to make Alex Seyfarth score a try, but they have not been able to unlock Samuel Afainu as a genuine try-scoring option on the left. Their pack are not scoring tries. They don't have that play in them like the prop offloads to the other prop close to the line type thing. Doesn't happen. They have no attacking. They have no attacking formulation that is forward centric close to the line. So I think that with Kai Pierce-Paul coming to the club, maybe they can change that. But sort of like what you said last week when we were talking about, we expected that Royce Hunt to be able to kind of do that a bit.
We did.
Terrell May he's not like Bully King. He's not the Bully King prop that you need to be able to score tries like that. Somebody like Fonua Bole is, but Fonua has not been. He's only just returned to the club. Sione Fainu's pretty good close to the line like that. But you need more of it, I think. I think that the threat, having try-scoring threats in the forward pack makes it easier to put on plays for the backs, is what I think. And to be honest, switching Seyfarth for Jack Bird's probably shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic from that perspective, because I certainly don't expect Jack Bird to, hit a crash line and score a try.
I think you actually nailed it because, we did talk in pre-season about, having options close to the line for him to run at, as for Appy to sort of pick. And, a lot of what we do is built around the manipulation of defenders in the middle corridor, which either pulls players in for us to play outwards or doesn't pull them in, and then we're able to capitalise through the middle corridor. And that really hasn't happened. The more I watch Terrell May, the more I think that he's the workhorse type. He's not the enforcer that people probably hope for. He might be that later in his career, but for me, with the minutes he plays, with the ball playing prowess he has, and quite frankly, the effectiveness or lack thereof in his hit-ups, he's a lock forward. It's right there. It's right there in front of us. Let him play 60 minutes. Let him play 80 minutes. Let him make his 60 tackles and take his hit ups. But take him away from fucking play 1 and play 2, and just have him play 3 and allow him to have some shape off the back of him. And then that way you preserve his motor. You make his hit ups more effective, which is what he needs. And you go to market again and you go and find another front row that can bang the door down. That's what I think needs to happen. Vanua is probably your play 1. I think you go and find a play 2, and then you move Sione and Alex to the bench, and that's no mark on them. I thought they were excellent, but just in short, just in terms of having a strong front row rotation, I think we probably need to go and find one more guy, and Terrell's your 13, because quite frankly, we've spoken about it. There's really next to nothing on the market. Kobe Hetherington might be a good guy to have on the bench, yeah, sure, but ultimately. I don't think he's the starting 13 that we crave and that we need.
They got to manufacture an answer, man. They got to manufacture an answer, right? Like the other clubs do it, just because there's not like a known commodity that you can go out and get. You've named players. You know what's out there that's just beneath the surface. Guys like that Warriors back rower. He would walk into our top 13 on form. And next year he'll be an even better player. If we went and signed him right now, he's the solution. That is a try-scoring, genuine, problematic, close to the line type player. That's what we need. We need more of that. Alex 12 can't score tries. Alex Seyfarth can't break tackles. Terrell May, he ain't a try-scoring threat. Samuel Fainu could be. He's about the only one. Samuel Fainu, Fainu Apole, and Sione Fainu a little bit. You need like in the modern NRL, you need everybody to be able to do it. The good clubs, their forwards consistently score tries. Look at Canberra. Josh Papali'i is a try-scoring prop. Joseph Tarpany is a try-scoring prop. Corey Horsburgh is a try-scorer. Hudson Young scores tries for fun. You need try-scoring forwards. That's how you win in the red zone. We don't have try-scoring forwards. We have genuine pludders.
Yep. And that's exactly what we need to change. So there might be an option for someone or something, in reserve grade. It's just finding that right guy. I did mention Caleb Navale before. He's a guy that I'd look at. Even a guy like Mason Teague's doing good things for Newcastle in the lower grades. I don't know whether or not he's necessarily a try-scoring threat, but I've been impressed with him in the lower grades since coming back to New South Wales. But anyway, look, we'll worry about that.
Who's a try-scoring forward that seems to score tries for fun now is Tim Johansson.
Well,
he scores. He's
yeah.
on the score sheet every week.
Yeah, bring him home. I know Adam's listening. Look, anyway, I agree with you. In order for this red zone to really work, yeah, we've got to try and find try scoring threats. And I think outside of Fanua Bole, we don't have one. What I will speak to, because we'll talk about Heath Mason in a little bit when we preview the Manly game. I just want to talk about that halves combo. I think that they are really well balanced. It's quite fluid. One plays first receiver sometimes, the other plays first receiver other times. I thought that Latu looked really confident with his place kicks in attack. I actually think they looked better than Luai's. I think Luai's always pull up a bit shorter than where he wants them. It looked like Latu was putting them on a dime. Latu's inability to play deep into the line. He's a running threat. He's speedy. He tells lies with his eyes and his hips. It is everything that we expected of him and more. Not to mention just his ability to rattle bones in defence. It's really I'm
He's a
smiling.
freakishly good defender for a young half.
Oh yeah, I'm smiling with how excited I am. I'm quite simply delighted. But at the same time, this is why we have to be patient with him, because if we can get him up to full match fitness and give him the time that he deserves, my God, a rival podcast, right? Adele Haj on Westlife said that if we keep
They're
Latu,
not rivals. They're our mates.
yeah, indeed they are. But they said if we keep Latu on the field, we'll make finals. Now with Jahream Bula gone, I don't necessarily believe that. But my God, Latu Fainu and Jerome was phenomenal second half.
He was really good.
He was fucking awesome.
So was Jahream.
It showed so much of what we can do.
Yeah, I think Latu Fainu sold me too. People asked on X, pinged us and said, what do you think, boys, about Latu? And I had to hold myself back because I was like about to give him the next Joey. No, I wasn't actually. I was about to give him the next Isaiah Katoa though. I think he's very good. I think. Yeah, Lachlan will probably be fine if Latu Fainu can stay on the field. Some of the stuff that you see him doing on the field is extraordinarily unique. Like just absolutely belting blokes as a young half is nuts. Like I don't know, like what. Who does he remind you of? Like, what kind of half hits like that? I've never seen anybody hit like that as a half ever.
Oh, there's one. It's the one you were going to compare him to.
I don't think Joey belted people like that. Like, he's a good defender, but like Latu irons blokes out, man. Like, puts them on their ass.
I've got mates that played against him in New South Wales Cup when he was 17, 18, and they would just look at him and go, "Oh, it's this tiny little Tongan boy," and they would just get picked up and dumped. It's why he made his international debut against England playing hooker. It's because of his defense. He is a phenomenal defender, and straight away the right edge looks better for it. We'll get to Jack Burton a little bit. Obviously, he's going to be there, but like we went into this year worrying about Galvin Seafarth and then obviously Toa and Taruva. Taruva still has shaky moments, and obviously that Chris line break showed that in spades. But Toa's pretty solid for the most part. Kai Pearce-Paul is excellent defensively, and Latu Fainu continues to prove what he can do. He's doing that to front rowers. He's gonna fucking murder some back rowers pretty soon on some reads. It's amazing to watch. But again, just the Canberra were up quick. They are fit. They slide well. They scramble well. For him to still be able to go deep into the line with minimal space over the advantage line and create space for his men out the back is befitting of a very, very special player. I don't think people realise. We were at the game. I was ended up in the box, but I was directly above you. We were pretty much exactly, in the exact same spot. The amount,
that's right. He dogged us. He pissed off. Like, I bought him a ticket.
You didn't buy my brother a ticket. Let it be known.
That's true.
I needed to think up a contingency. The great Nick Gleason, I'm sure he's listening. He sorted us tickets, but the space in which they had to work with was so small and so narrow, and they continued to find success. In that left. On that left edge and on the right edge too, and I put a lot of that down to Latu's work, really sucking in ABC, which was phenomenal work, and yeah, I do get fucking excited. Yeah, we've lost 5 on the bounce, but it's the first time that we've seen him play 5 of halfback, 5/8, whatever, properly this year, and look what he does for our team.
Yes, hanging with the fellas. As soon as that first try Canberra scored, I literally said, "You got to hook Heath Mason," because you could just tell, he was way off the pace, and Canberra were going after him. I could tell even before the try, Canberra were stacking that side and just running at him. It was their whole game plan. They telegraphed it, and as soon as he went off the field, we won. We were winning. They had no game plan aside from run at Heath Mason.
Well, it was 12-0 with Latu at 6. It's as simple as that. And again, we'll talk about Heath at fullback, and obviously his ineffectiveness at 6 in a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, Steph's just laughing about the fact that you had a box at Campbelltown Stadium, I think. Yeah.
Hey, the slow cooked beef massaman was fucking unreal. Let it be known.
Let it be known.
It was.
I think that the Tigers are at that unfortunate point where they're now trying to figure out how to play instead of playing. You're on the run, and that sort of really becomes apparent when they're deep in attack, and you can see because instead of doing the you never see him, taking a run from dummy half to try to score a try or anything like that, right? They're very much focused on putting on the play that was planned for, which seems like a symptom of every player looking for somebody else to make the play, right? There's a lot of shipmates and who's the captain right now. I would expect Api Coruscant to take a lot more command around the red zone, but he's shuffling the ball on, and I wonder why. Because he's deceptive from dummy half, and he can put on tries. When was the last time he put on a try assist? It's 2 months ago. I don't know what's going on. All we need to win most games is one extra try, man. We've lost three games in a row by 4 points. How hard is it to score one extra try when you have that much red? When you have that much red zone ball, look at how just I don't know, get Vonnie or Bolle to pick the ball up from dummy half and just barge through somebody's legs and hope the bunker fucks up. You know what I mean? It's not that hard to put the ball over the line. They're overthinking it, and I think Latu Fainu is going to make that worse in some ways, Jared, unfortunately, because now they're going to feel obligated to try to fold him into the shape and put him on a pedestal and highlight him, and I worry about that. But at the same time, he is extremely talented. He's a very good defender, and I think that in the medium term, as long as he stays on the field, we'll be a completely better club for it, for sure.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to touch on? I thought Sione was excellent. I thought Alex Twal and Fanua Bolle, both back from injury, improved us heaps. We went toe-to-toe with what a lot of people rate as one of the better forward packs in the competition. I thought apart from some defensive work, Sonia Taruva was pretty good.
I thought Adam Dewey had a very good game.
Yeah, I thought he was wonderful. Obviously we talk about Adam for the future, but some of those lines that he ran down that left edge were excellent and
very involved too.
Yeah, he was. I do wish that he played outside to I think it was Skelton, as opposed to Twal back on the inside.
It was Bula, dude.
Right? No, it was
Bula.
Yeah, you were right.
I think Adam Dewey, he loves playing Canberra. The last time he played good was against Canberra. He's got a problem with KO Weeks. He sees KO Weeks on the other side of the field, and he's like, I'm going to make him my bunny. Imagine being KO Weeks and having Imagine being Kyle Weeks and the one player in the NRL that you like line up against that like just has your number is Adam fucking Dewey.
Literally.
Can you
Yeah,
imagine? It's like, oh god, I have nightmares about Adam Dewey.
yeah, it's a crack up. Nonetheless,
What do you mean Skelton will be a big loss?
yeah,
Skelton.
sorry, yeah, Scott, you're gonna have to explain that to me. I'm sorry.
I think he meant. I think he might have meant Bula.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping so. I don't think we can deal with another injury in the back line. Look, it's fine margins right now, as Blaine points out, with 3 points out of the 8, and if Galvin holds onto the footy and the pass to Samuela goes backwards or isn't called up, we're in the 8. But at the same time, we're also staring at 5 losses on the bounce, and there's some games that we won earlier in the year that had we played other opposition or other things didn't go our way, we lose. It's been a topsy-turvy season, yeah, and I absolutely see improvement, and I have reason to be optimistic. But I also sit here and we're now 5-9 after being 5-4 after 9 rounds, and yeah, it's I am losing my sanity a little bit.
I will say, I haven't been confident in many weeks. I predicted a couple of wins, but with no confidence. I'm very confident that we're going to win this week. I think I have a vibe. The vibes here. The quantum field feels like it's collapsing around a win.
Wonderful. Well, let's talk about it. Friday, 6 p.m., which is a very West Tigers time slot. We never get that time slot because Fox seems to love us. But nonetheless, Friday, 6 p.m. at Brookie. The main team change is the fact that Jahream Bula is out with a hamstring injury. The most Tigers fucking thing happened ever, listeners. The last kick of the game when Jahream put that grubber through, when reaching down to retrieve the ball, the great Jahream Bula pulled his hamstring and he is now out for a month. At a time when, again, it was, we're really turning for home. And it seemed as if we would probably string a few wins together. That probably isn't going to be the case now. But nonetheless, this is a winnable game for a few reasons, which we'll talk about. Heath Mason's at the back. Look, it does simplify his job. The only question is the high ball. That's what we're extremely worried about and have been so since the outset. I'm not worried about his ability to marshal the defensive line. It's just the aerial raid from Daly Cherry Evans and their subsequent their chasers. Lehigh Hopewadi's phenomenal in the air. Tom Trebojevic, despite the fact that he's broken down, he's also very good in the air. It's going to be quite the aerial assault for Heath. But if he can manage that, I'm pretty confident we can win. And why is that? It's because of the...
Manly suck.
Well, yes, there's that. There's the issue with Theobald. But listen to this forward pack, bro. Matthew Lodge, Jazz Tavanga, Siosiwa Tokeaho. Last time I saw him, he was in an aged care facility. Corey Waddell, Ben Trebojevic, the Nepo boy, and Jake Trebojevic. That is fucking terrible for a starting pack. It is right there. If there is a time for this side to wind up and layer up within that first 20, it is now. Because yes, they have Bullimore and Brown and Sipley on the bench, all of which are good impact players. But fuck, if we blow them away that first 20, they won't come back. That is where the game will be won.
Yeah, I don't think Manly even want to play. Like this is the. It's been a while since we played a team who, like, you look at and genuinely be like, nah, that team sucks. Like, Penrith are the 4-time defending premiers, right? Like, who cares if they were below us on the ladder at the time we played them? Like, it's Penrith. Canberra are, like, in the top 4. Like, every team that we've played has turned up. And so have we. This is the more to the point, right? Like our team aren't losing games through lack of effort. Manly are losing games through lack of effort, through lack of application. The West Tigers have somehow through this stretch stayed hungry. They have stayed determined. They're still playing for the coach. They're going to show up unless unfortunately this most recent win proper broke them. All they got to do is show up with the exact same intent. And this Manly side do not have it in them to go with any team right now. They are nowhere near on the pace. They're not playing for the coach. They're not playing for each other. Seabold's out of ideas. Ever since they decided to let Cherry Evans walk, or ever since he decided to walk, They have not been the same team.
I want to remind everybody of what happened on the night of July 17, 2020, the last time that Anthony Searbold's job was in danger, and he came up against a West Tigers team. We beat them by 48 points to nil. I've been geeing it up for ages.
You have been, yeah.
I'm hoping for a similar outcome.
Yeah, I think I also still subscribe to the fact that Luke Brooks is cursed when it comes to West Tigers. I think he's gonna. I think you're gonna see a couple of anti-clutch gene Luke Brooks moments in this game. I fully expect that at one point Luke Brooks will just have the ball magically levitate out of his hands and into Latu Finers, who will score.
Well, it happened last time.
Yeah, it happened to Lockie, remember? Like the ball,
Yeah.
Luke Brooks is just running and the ball just fell out of his hands into Lachlan's hands.
Couple of key matchups. Obviously, Master and Apprentice Daly, Cherry Evans and Latu Fainu. But the main one in the centres is the stoppable force versus the movable object, Tom Trbojevic and Adam Dewey. How are you feeling about Turbo in the centres? Look, he obviously doesn't have the motor to play fullback anymore. His body's broken down, but obviously I think they're going to treat him a little bit like Latrell when he plays left centre for the Blues. It'll be quality over quantity with his touches. I just hope that we're ready for the impending touches that he will get.
Mate, he can't make tackle breaks at the moment. He's not the same player. It's Adam Dewey versus Adam Dewey. Like Tom Trbojevic is playing no better than Adam Dewey this year. It is what it is, man. Like, no disrespect, like he's one of the all-time great fullbacks, but his body is, the game is past him. I think I don't see him ever recapturing his old form again. I think he's broken down. That's why he's talking about going to England. Now he knows that he can't be who he needs to be for Manly. He's talking about bloody retiring himself to the farm, bro. That's where Tom Trebojevic's mind's at. No, I think that the Tigers are going to put it through them this week.
All right, mate. Give me a prediction then. Let's hear it.
28-12.
Nice. I'll go 34-10. All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk pathways. Cup, we expected them to lose by 60. They ended up losing by 20. But I don't think that gives you the full story. Now, St. George came out of the blocks. That man I mentioned earlier, Jonah Glover, had a hand in a few tries. They got out to a 16-0 lead. The Tigers managed to fight their way back into the match thanks to a try from Tristan Hope 3 minutes out from half-time. Isaac Tuitupor, who was phenomenal just quietly, had an amazing game, scored another try, followed by Tony Sukkar in minute 60. We were in that game right up to our eyeballs. Up until Alex Slob caught the ball off the kickoff, threw a hospital ball to Rami, and who dropped it, and then Connor Mulyson then went and scored. So that's what killed us off, which is really interesting. Now, our starting forwards were dominated. Everybody's talking about Royce Hunt and his starting stint. Yeah, it was terrible.
What are they saying about him, Jared?
It was one run for 7 meters, I think.
That was his whole output?
Yeah, 21 minutes, one run for 7 meters, 10 tackles made, 6 missed. One of the great stints from Royce. But
I'm pretty sure I haven't been to the gym in 3 years. Pretty sure you whack a Magpies jersey on me and roll me out there in the middle. I reckon I could do better than that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it says it all, doesn't it?
You could do
that is one of the all-time stints.
Just literally catch the ball and just run and get belted 2 times, and you're a better prop than Royce Hunt.
That wins you life membership in the Front Rowers Club, I think. Like, starting, like, that is, like, after being dropped to reserve grade and just putting in 21 minutes of the absolute worst. Like, that is...
Six missed tackles from 10 attempts, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, no, sorry. No, it was 10 tackles, 6 missed, so 16 attempts.
My gosh.
Kills me.
Who's this Timothy Merkin? What's this bloke on about? Oh, he's saying we could beat the Tigers.
Thanks, mate. I mean, it's been a while.
Mate, we'd probably get picked for Manly right now on form, I reckon. So tell your
Just
story,
who do
Warren.
you support, Tom? Let us know. Tim, sorry, let us know, mate. Again, I want
It's
to.
that time of the show where we start to get silly and talk shit to the fans.
Yeah, we're nearly there. Isaac Before, who I mentioned, he was unreal out of yardage, even at a time when we were getting absolutely dominated through the middle. I thought that once Jackson Rami and Ruben Porter got on the field, that momentum started to swing. You look at Royce Hunt's stint, and that's probably not a surprise. This side is missing Talon Silva and Kit Lauliti, though, that is for certain. Nonetheless, look, again, the bar was on the floor in regards to expectation. I'm not surprised, that we were beaten comprehensively. But, if we managed to get back in the grind off that third try that we scored, things could have been different. But nonetheless, we roll on.
Yeah, I didn't watch the game, but I mean, I wasn't surprised that we had a crack. Like, I think the Magpies are a good side now. I think that over the last month they've sort of proven that, and it's been consistent, both during games and from week to week. Like, it's not like random bursts of energy that are like kind of like giving them the results. It's actually diligent, consistent application, week in, week out, minute to minute. They're playing out 80. But yeah, that Dragon side was just a sub NRL team, wasn't it? Like, it's just a different level of team. I would love to see the New South Wales Cup Dragons versus the NRL Dragons. I'd love to see the opposed session.
It'd go close.
It'd go close, wouldn't it? I don't know what Flanagan's done with that roster, but it's like basically just two New South Wales Cup sides.
Yeah, it's a weird one, that's for certain. Nonetheless,
We can
our
talk.
boys will play the Chooks this week. Now, if anybody's been keeping an eye on New South Wales Cup, the Chooks are running 6th. They're 7-7, but aside from Chad Townsend, it's a team of and Makahisi Makatoa. It is a team of kids. You've got Taylor Lazalu, who looked like an apprentice brickie the night that they beat Penrith. He's since gone on and signed a permanent contract. But Delasol Va'a's in that side as well. Toby Rodwell's in that side.
Dylan Olivala is playing flag.
No, he isn't.
Isn't that what you just said? Oh, they're playing New South Wales Cup.
No, they're playing Cup. It's a team of kids. So, look, the experience and class of the West side, I'm hoping, gets them over the line. But we'll see. But
look who's on the wing.
All eyes will be on one. Yeah, Trey Penny, I saw that. All eyes will be on one Taylor May making his return. I'm not too sure whether or not why he's been spread up, whether it was Buller's injury or how he's performed at training. I'm hoping that it's the latter as opposed to the former, but very clearly there will be lining up by the looks of things at left centre. I'm not expecting big things, but within the next few weeks, I'm really anticipating he'll begin to warm up.
There's 3 forwards in the Roosters New South Wales Cup side that I would love to have at the Tigers.
Tell us more.
Taylor Lasalu, Delasali Va'a, and Xavier Va'a.
Yeah, they're all very, very good players. Lazalu's a good one.
He played NRL. Yeah, he scored a try on debut, didn't he?
No, that was Va'a on the Sunny Coast. But Lazalu, didn't have a full-time contract up until midway through this year. 183 centimetres, 105 kilos, so very much that modern prop build.
See, what I don't get really, and we've talked about this before, is like where are these gigantic, like Polynesian titanium truck motherfucking like run it straight grand champion forwards at the West Tigers pathways? Where are they?
Yeah.
What do the Roosters breed them in a lab?
It's been a problem with our junior recruitment for years.
Do the Roosters know? I'll tell you what. This is my conspiracy theory. Ready? You go to any fucking park footy, you get any like good, decent 16-year-old prop, right? And you make sure that they're an orphan, right? So, because if they don't have parents, then they have nobody to say no, right? And you offer them fame and fortune and riches and glory in exchange for 2 years in a Russian laboratory. And you send them over to Russia, and you just fill them up with roids. You fill them up in Russia, right? Where obviously, the NRL doping authority can't get to them. And then you bring them back. That's what I reckon the Roosters do.
Given that they continue to just roll these blokes off the production line, the heavy duty production line, might I add, it seems to really. I think you might be onto something there.
And that's what we need to do. We need to yeah, get around that foreign laboratory operation.
Couldn't agree more. Flag had a 34-all draw. Now, Will Craig missed. Oh well, I think Tavana had a crack too, but there was a couple of goal kicking attempts that were missed. We actually scored more tries, but the Tigers managed to pull themselves back into this game. It looked really early that it was going to be ugly, similar to the last time that we played the Dragons, but they managed to salvage it. But I would say that a lot of that came off the back of our bench middles. Joseph Lenyon has found a home at lock forward coming off the bench. Shaquille Tavita is doing some really good things, and I thought Leonard Plutty had some great moments as well. But a couple of guys that I want to point out, it's probably no coincidence that they're both on full-time contracts. Solomon Sakuru is really transitioning nicely into this back row role. He picked up the crumbs on a couple of kick errors made by the Dragons and scored one and set another one up for Will Craig. But the try that he scored where he was turned back on the inside from Iverson Matai just speaks to like the skill. Actually, no, it was a hole off a short pass. My apologies. I was thinking of the week previous. He's really taking to this nicely, and I think there is some real hope that he can be, the player that we all know he can be in that position. And finally, Jared Haywood, just his control, his IQ, his ruck identification, the time that he has, his deception, his ability to manipulate defenders in the ruck. I mentioned at the top of the show that I think he's ready for State Cup, and I say this because it's really time for him to test his footballing smarts against men.
Test his might. Is that what you think? Yeah, I have some weird questions about Solomon Sakuru. Isn't he in the top 30?
Yes, he is.
Why is it that they're being so patient with his development and letting him, ply his trade and, learn and out of sight, out of mind when he's already in the top 30 and they're like rushing to pick Kit Lallee as every bloody opportunity they can? I don't understand. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, do they? Is it that they don't rate Solomon Sakuru? Because I feel if they rated him, that they would be doing the same thing, forcing him through and like overexposing him. Because that seems to be their model.
I'm curious, man, because Solo played cup last year and he played a bit of centre and played a bit of wing, and it was clear that he just wasn't up to it. Like, just his lateral movement, and look, he was obviously clearly unfit, and that was backed up by the breach notice that he copped first week of preseason for this year. But I think it's clear that they've put him down there because, one, obviously the depth, but two, they're giving him more time down there to get used to the rigours of playing in the back row. He's really showing his worth there. I'm really curious to see where he sits amongst all of these back rowers. Lachlan Broadalow is on a development contract next year. He's actually gone backwards since the start of the year, if you want my opinion. I don't think he's in. I don't think we're looking at the same player that we were at the beginning of the season, where he was just far too good for that level. As time has gone on, Solo has become the weapon of choice on the edges, and he's been excellent. I don't really know, mate. I think that Kit would probably benefit from some time in the front row down in Flegg as well. If we're going to talk about giving players time and opportunity to redevelop in certain positions, and I don't understand why they aren't doing it with Kit. Kit had a great game the week previous in Cup against Manly. But thank you, Ian. That was very nice. But nonetheless, obviously they're going to do what they're going to do with Kit. But it's really refreshing to see Solo improve.
Yeah, I agree. I think he looks really fit. He looks big. He's strapping. Runs hard. he can hit. It's good. Like it's less to me. It's less about me thinking that they're doing wrong with Solo, aside from potentially like having him in the top 30. I think he's exactly where he needs to be right now. But it's just weird how they're treating him differently to, some of these other players that they rush through and like overexpose and don't seem to be wanting to be patient with. When he plays a position that we have weakness, he plays a position where you would think that they would be like desperately trying to like manufacture a solution. So beats me. I don't know. Maybe Solo doesn't advocate for himself quite as much as these other guys. Maybe his agent's not like blowing up Benji's phone or something. I don't know what it is. There's something different about the way that they're progressing him, in my opinion.
Yeah, quite possibly. Just another couple of quick things. I think Iverson Matai continues his good run of form. Max Tautua, who's probably been our best player all year in that grade, was wonderful. The try that we scored where we went from coast to coast, we started. It was the first try we scored. We went from left side, so I think it was Matai to Liata Gaga, who started at lock, to Pritchard, out to Brooks, then to Tautua, then to Tavana. That was an unreal try and befitting of how far this side has come in the last few weeks with its structure, its application, and its ability to play footy. That was absolutely unreal. As was the try to Shaquille Tavita through the middle. Really big fella. I love when a big bloke can ball play through a really nice short pass to Joseph Lenyon, who went steaming through, had the presence of mind to sort of hold the fullback up, throw a left foot step, and wait for the support. It was unreal. Very, very happy. What are you laughing at?
Oh, just yeah. You love when a big man can ball play.
Oh, it's my favourite. My absolute favourite. What was I going to say? Phoenix Godinay played well too. Blaine, I don't know whether or not he is related to Pitta, but he was excellent it was like a 15-minute cameo. But yeah, this flag side's doing well. You compare it to what they pushed out against St George probably 6 weeks ago. This is night and day, totally different side. So those boys will be going around again this week against the Roosters. The Roosters are 9th, the Tigers are 7th. We'll see what happens there.
Fun episode. Let's do some quick Q&A and then
Yeah,
I'll go home to my family and do family stuff. All right, we've got at the top we had a congratulations to me for being sober. That's very nice of you. Thank you. We had a question about this. Why is there a common denominator of our club's juniors gaining some sort of god complex?
I think we spoke about that at the top of the show, but I'll probably just try and reiterate. I think a lot of these guys were promised the world by Sheens and McDonald in sort of 2022 when the club was on its knees. They signed contracts, hefty contracts, rich contracts on the back of that. They're guys like Lachlan Galvin, Jordan Miller, Talon De Silva, and so forth. Does that feed a culture of self-entitlement? Not solely, but I think it plays a part in it. But obviously, at the same time, a lot of these guys, guys like guys like Talon are being held up by guys like Uppy and so forth. And, they're sort of seeing the writing on the wall a little bit. But I do think that it comes from the fact that, again, the side has won 3 straight spoons. It may possibly well win a 4th straight. These juniors are some of the best that we've ever had. And ultimately, they've been promised the world. And if they don't get given what they've wanted very quickly, then the self-entitlement begins to settle in. Now, I'm not saying it's the same with Talon, but around Lachlan Galvin, I definitely think that played a role.
Yeah, and again, I prescribe to the theory that your harshest critics are your best source of feedback, right? And John Bateman criticised Benji Marshall last year for favouring young blokes, and now look what's coming home to roost. Let's be honest. Benji Marshall obviously inflated their egos. He pushed them ahead of schedule. He picked them ahead of seasoned veterans. And John Bateman called it out. He called the spade. And look what's happening. Look at the results. At the time, it was very easy to be like, what a sourpuss. But now we're asking the questions of Why do all of our juniors have a god complex when we have documented a player saying that the coach blows smoke up their ass? Now, I understand that there's a need to build their confidence, but not at the cost of the the morale and the credibility of your senior playing group either. Managing multiple egos, managing different age players at different levels of maturity is not an easy task. It's not easy to manage people. It's not easy to manage a team of 4 people, let alone a playing group of 30 plus the extended extra 60. It's very challenging. It's probably partially caused by the fact that Benji Marshall is extraordinarily inexperienced. He didn't get a chance to see it from the coach's perspective, what it's like to actually have to be responsible for managing the egos and all of those players. He's only ever seen it from the player's perspective. Maybe he doesn't know what he was getting himself into. The most important thing when you're in that situation is that you take the time to explain your perspective to everyone, because that's what men do. That's what you're supposed to treat other people with respect and dignity. If you feel like you're left out in the dark and you're not aligned to what he's thinking, and he's blowing smoke up the young players' ass at the cost of your career, it causes things to fester. So there's two issues that causes. So I think that the most likely answer to the question of why have our juniors developed god complexes is because of the inexperienced communications management style of the head coach. That's my opinion. Here's a question.
You are entitled to it, my friend. Steph, you asked it twice. Are you worried we haven't re-signed Star yet? Who says we haven't?
Haven't we?
No, who says we haven't?
Have we?
I'll leave it at that. And Lamp, I can see you in the comments. Your name is reflective of your IQ. Don't put anything in a social media post.
Jared's mad. Why is Jared mad? Did somebody in the comments say mean shit about him?
Just be patient.
Here's a question. Think we get Latu playing a bit more left edge, get that Fainu combo cooking?
You'll see him sweep this week for sure. As you've seen with Heath Mason, they park him on the right-hand side, use him to hold up a defender, and then the halves do the sweeping. That won't change now that Lachlan Galvin's gone. So I think you'll see it a little bit, but full strength, I don't think he will. Latu's a right full kicker, and he can do what he does on the right, left or right, vice versa. I wouldn't be too worried about that.
Was that game where we pasted the Seabold Broncos the last time we had a shutout?
Great question. Quite possibly. I can do some sleuthing for you while you answer some other questions.
Yeah, okay. Clayton asks, how good is that Magpies backline this week? Pretty good. Pretty bloody good. Next question. Where is Reedy's Queen tribute band playing next? The Sherwood Hotel.
The what tribute band?
Your Queen tribute band.
Yeah, I can't do Freddie. I was a shitty vocalist at one point in my life, but not on Freddie's level.
Give me some Queen lines.
All we hear is Lady Gaga.
Oh, nice, brother. That's not bad at all.
Thanks, mate.
Blaine says 2-3 years Dagestan and forget. If you know, you know.
Indeed.
What do we got here? It's not a question as much as a statement that needs to be highlighted. Ian says he's going to be rubbing the belly of his Mac doll on Friday evening to bring good luck after my premonition. Ian, I really hope you don't have a Mac doll.
Yeah, we love Ian, but the thought of a Mac doll's a bit scary.
Please dispose of your Mac doll immediately. All right, Walker asks, sorry, that's not the question I was going for. Latu and Bull lay the slab as the other watch. Okay. What he actually asked was, what does the mic smell like, Mac? To which I replied, your mangina. Anyway, I just felt like highlighting that one.
Nice, man.
Blaine says, might be a silly question, is Phoenix related to 2018 Tigers legend Peter?
I saw that.
Peter got an A.
I saw it in the comments. A few people think it. I don't know it for sure.
I thought that it wasn't. I thought that it was. It was known that he was his nephew, but it's definitely. I'll send a text to my good mate Shane Richardson, and I'll get him the answer. Eh?
Good idea.
Walker asks, "Who does Heath Mason have nudes of?" And alternatively, why doesn't Lalidley have these nudes for leverage? Valid question, my friend. The answer is probably Shane Richardson. I can't believe you're right. Steph did ask that question.
I don't think I'd want to be in possession of those nudes, but nonetheless.
Walker asks, do you think that Sione should stay starting? My answer to that question is yes, I do. I think Sione Fainu has become a very, very good prop, and I feel like that if we continue to actually develop him as the potential star that he is, that he will only improve. He seems to get better by the game, so let's keep pushing him up the charts. I have no problem with it.
My only question is who plays off the bench?
Vanua Pole.
Fair. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I don't mind it. I see the merit in both. I'm more than happy for whatever. We just need to start winning games.
Yes. How long do you think till Latu reaches the level Galvin was playing at for the 6 weeks of this year? I'm going to say negative 4 days.
Yeah, I think he's already there. It's just Galvin's motor that the Latu doesn't have. He may never have it, but he will be able to influence the scoreline in ways that Lachlan Galvin could only dream of. Speaking of, Braithen Astor said on Triple M on Saturday that part of the reason that Lachlan left was that he knew that Latu would be the starting 6 when fully fit.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. Like, I think that a lot of people, even those who weren't in the know, kind of expected it to happen. And I think that it was primarily because, like, it wasn't just because of this idea that Latu is a better player than Lachlan. It's that all things being equal, Lachlan's more versatile, right? So, like, if they're both in your best 5 players at an NRL club, and Latu can only play in the halves, and Lachlan can play elsewhere, it's a no-brainer, right? So it's a fair point, and I don't think it's an unreasonable one. I don't think it even really comes down to ego. I think it's just based on pure logic. Question by Blaine: would you take Zion seeing as apparently the Dogs are already off him after 4 months?
I would prefer us go down the experienced middle route as opposed to a 21-year-old who is relatively untested. But look, if the opportunity comes up and the club jumps at it, I'm not going to say no, of course. But I'm not totally sold on Zion. I think he's got a couple of issues in his game. Where are you at?
Ask a question. Who the hell is he? Why is everybody talking about him all of a sudden?
Okay, so Zion was the fella that knocked out one of our blokes in that trial at the beginning of 2024. He's a big front rower. He's just a big boy. Had some raps on him. Made his debut in 2024 for the Warriors.
That guy. The guy that went from the Warriors to the
picked
Dogs.
after that, and then actually was given the opportunity to look elsewhere late in preseason for 2025. And the Dogs picked him up, and they've turfed him out within the space of 4 months, that's a bit of a red flag.
It's a massive red flag.
Yeah, that's a red flag for me.
I think I'd still probably give him a New South Wales Cup contract though.
Oh, absolutely, but a full-time contract, no. In terms of who I'm looking at in terms of middle forwards, I mentioned Havili before. I'd be looking at guys. I'd be looking at his club, his old teammate, Bunty Arfoa. I've spoken about him a few times. I'd probably be looking there. Viliami Fafita's a guy that's fallen off the wayside at the Dragons, like a lot of players have. I'd be looking there. Jaden Hunt, I don't mind. Those sorts of guys are the guys that I'd be looking at. I think, obviously, Mark Nichols, if he's available, he'd be great. Something has to give there at the Dolphins. I think I wouldn't mind him as an experienced campaigner. Those are the sorts of guys that I'd be looking at.
So as it turns out, Lamp supports a club that was so shit that they don't even exist anymore. So his opinion is worth 2/5 of fuck all.
Nah, Lamp's been nice. Go easy on old Lamp.
He's not very nice. He's being a dick.
No, he was asking if I'm the journo.
Yeah,
So
I know. Are you?
no, I'm not. I'm not that guy. I think I know the one he's talking about. But
I
I
think that was him trying to be nice. Anyway, I think that's a wrap, really.
indeed, that is episode 38 of West Tigers Faithful. We have manifested a win this week. We'll continue to do so in the weeks that follow. May we all celebrate a win this time next week.
This is my manifestation ritual.
Because by God, we need it. Stay safe out there. Stay warm. We'll see you next week.
Oh, by the way, Campbelltown's a hole. Terrible, terrible stadium. Cold as shit. I hope we never play there again. Sucks. Goodbye.